everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk episode, 471. That's right. I think this is the second time we've done a show the day after a US election, and that's all I'm prepared to say on the subject. So we'll leave it at that, Anyway, welcome all in one. This is the podcast that's dedicated to music technology, music production, software, live production, anything to do with making music with technology, or perhaps not as well. It could be anything or any of those things. So once again, we thank you all for joining us. If you like this kind of stuff, this is runs for about an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. And we've also got sponsors. We've got a competition from iZotope, who will be giving away a copy of Neutron this week. We are changing it up, but we will have a winner for last week's show, or last time show, because there was no live show last week. And so we'll have a winner for Vocal Synth, and I've just recalled that I don't think I've put the new Neutron ad in there, so that's going to give me a task to achieve while Rich and while our guests talk amongst themselves and cover me for enough time to be able to slot the ad in place. Now there's a challenge for you. Anyway, welcome everybody, welcome to the chat room. I want to say you can watch this live via sonicstate.com/live, where we have the YouTube embed. Also there's a live chat room there if you prefer our IRC. We've got our own IRC server, but otherwise you could do it on YouTube, and we do thank you all for watching live. It's very much appreciated, and I'm sure and I hope you'll enjoy today, which will probably be a kind of election-free zone, which is going to be a bit of a respite. So let's just leave it at that, and we'll introduce our guests now. We're starting off with Mr. Rich Hilton, who is in the aforesaid affected country of the United States of America, in sunny eastern seaboard kind of world. So Connecticut. That's it. I lost my thread there. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, thank you.
Jolly
Very
good. Rich, of course, keyboard player with Chic, and Nile Rodgers studio guy, a man of much experience. And if I see correctly, it looks like there's some kind of helium-filled balloon in the background there. Did one have a birthday recently? I think one did.
Yes, it's true. Yesterday was my 60th birthday.
That's so hard to believe. Wow.
It is pretty hard to believe.
Congratulations.
Not harder for anybody than it is for me, believe me.
Well, I hope you had a lovely, lovely day. And all of that, and did all of those things that one does. I don't know what one does on one's 60th birthday. Do you drive sports cars and gamble and do things that, that one might not ordinarily do, or did you just have a nice family day?
I had a really great family day. And a nice dinner with surprise dinner with a bunch of friends from town here, and received some lovely gifts, and it was really good. I'm
very pleased to hear that, Rich. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. So thank you very much for joining us. And also we have Mr. Ty Unwin, the composist with the mostest. That's I did that on the fly. I could tell it wasn't going to work as I went into that sentence, but I thought I had to finish it. Ty Unwin, of course, composer, does a lot of stuff for TV and film with synthesizers, which you can see in the background. In fact, I think he was telling us a little bit pre-show that there was perhaps a few new purchases that had come his way, so we'll have to quiz him about that, because it's traditional. If you haven't been on for a couple of weeks, Ty, then we know that there's bound to be something new in your arsenal. But how are you? You well?
I'm good, thank you. I just want to say happy birthday to Rich. Well done.
Yes, happy birthday.
60. God, I just feel good because I'm the youngest on the panel, which is never going to happen again. So thanks. No, happy birthday, Rich. That's brilliant.
Thank you, Ty.
No, I'm good. Thank you. No, everything's fine. Just getting on, and yeah, that's it. Everything's good.
So have you got your usual kind of crazy, hectic schedule? Because we haven't seen you for a little while, have we? So I'm guessing that's because you've been busy, right?
It is, yes. I do have a hectic schedule, although luckily the absolute mayhem that I had over the last couple of months has gradually eased for a couple of weeks. So I've now got to get back on with the long-term project that I've been on, the album project, and so that's just kind of eating away at the moment. But I'm actually sleeping at night.
Whoa, that's got to be good.
Ridiculous, but for me, that's really, hey!
I thought you looked well.
Yeah. Well,
although, to be honest, there's the three of us. There's a certain similarity amongst all three of us, the panellists today. Although I think Rich probably wins it on the hair front, just about.
If you do that again, I can actually get in exactly the same position as Rich's head. Hang on. And we can kind of morph into one another. Hang on a second. I'm going to go this way. Go on. We all try and morph into Rich. There we go. I'm there.
There we go. It's good job. We've got separate lightings. Anyway, Ty, great to have you aboard. You were mentioning that you got a couple of these. One of the things you were talking about was analog heat. So you've managed to, you were bitten by the bug. And I'm curious because I know we did the big analog heat video, and honestly, it went bananas. People were going crazy for it because I think they probably didn't understand what it was for. I mean, I didn't really, to be perfectly honest. And you've got one, so you've kind of you're someone who's actually used it in anger, or perhaps some other word.
Yeah, I absolutely didn't get it when it was announced. I genuinely just thought, just another distortion box, no interest to me at all. And it was only when I saw the review you did that I took a second interest in it, and and bought it. And it's brilliant. It is.
And how are you using it? Because that was the thing that about me. I mean, I have spoken about this before, but the thing for me was it's actually the bits that, before you can hear it really clearly, and as well as the extreme stuff, it's those parts that I was. And how have you been using it, if I may be so bold to ask?
Exactly that. It's basically just warming stuff up. I know that sounds a real general kind of term, but it's just giving things some life that it didn't have before. But also, I'm using the envelope flow on the filter a lot as well, and that combined with the distortion, I think people need to see it as a creative tool rather than, it's not just a distortion box. It's a proper creative tool. It doesn't have to mangle the sound, but it shapes the sound in a way which is, you can just get some beautiful things out of very little. I think that's what's really appealing. You can put in some quite banal sounds and banal beats, and what comes out the other end is great. Unfortunately, Overbridge isn't working with it at the moment.
That's a shame. But
no, so it's been released slightly early from that point of view, but they're promising it's going to be ready any day. So I'm literally just using it as a, kind of plug it in and take it through, and it's wonderful. And I was just saying, I've got a System 8, and I've been using that quite a lot with it.
A Roland System 8, right? Okay. Yeah, we've got one coming in for review. In fact, I did say earlier, this is all pre-show stuff, which is why you should tune in before, folks. I've got the OB6 desktop here, which is going to be the next thing that I review. Oh, excuse me. Oh, God, that's heavier than I thought. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that. I've only unpacked it. I'm hoping to switch it on and enjoy, because I did try it at NAMM and I just thought, those sounds are all of those sounds that I wondered where they came from, and now I know. And Rich is smiling in a kind of benign, you will understand the Oberheim kind of thing. Oh, you're muted. That's a drink for everybody, I believe.
Yeah, you're definitely muted.
I haven't actually touched it yet myself, but I just know that it's going to be something magical.
Yeah. Are you tempted by the not the Overbridge, the analog heat? Is that something that interests you as well? I guess you've got all of that stuff in real life as well, haven't you?
I don't know that there is another box really like this, and that came home to me like the way Ty described it with him. Watching your review of it and the
presentation, I didn't really review it, but yes.
Well, it was more of an exposition by the Elektron bag, but. And I even commented, I believe, under the video on YouTube that
yes, thank you.
Obviously not just a $750 fuzz box. And I was really, really impressed with it as a signal processing device, and I can see its appeal and use, absolutely. And I applaud my friends at Elektron for developing such a cool thing.
So have you had any, I'm curious, Rich, I feel that we're all, I mean, I've shown something else I've got new. Your birthday was yesterday. Have you got any new musical technology equipment you can say that you've had since we last spoke to you? Because it just feels like, you've been, I feel like I need to send you something just so you can say, look what I've got.
Not in hardware, no. I admit it. I have bought software, though.
What'd you get?
The Blue Cat audio distortion I bought, actually.
Uh-huh. Cool. I know you're a fan of their stuff. Yeah.
I am a fan of their stuff, and now I'm starting to get to know the guy a little bit, and he seems like a really nice man. And I was sucked in by their introductory price, and decided that the thing had sufficient number of features that it could do some small percentage of what perhaps this electronic box does.
So it's like a kind of by proxy, distortion by proxy. Well, I bought the Valhalla Shimmer because I was doing the soft tube modular review, and I thought I need something that, in software that will make the kind of sounds that, I usually have on the end of things. So I'll try that because of a couple of the patches. Because actually I was trying to replicate a patch on the Pittsburgh in the Soft G modular to see if I could get the same kind of vibe. And I have to say it was mostly successful, at least I thought so. But so that's my only purchase in the last period. But anyway, I have done something.
And I just realised another thing. I thought of VPO3. Sorry, I forgot that one as well.
Oh, what, the vocoder?
Yeah, it's very good.
I imagine there's a lot of uses for that in the sort of stuff you do, right?
Oh, loads. Do you know every track now? Every track is 1979 vocoder. Yeah, everything.
Excellent.
Period drama. Mounting Everest.
Yeah.
Vocoder.
Well, vocoder.
I actually did get something else, and that's the new Urs Heckman synth.
Oh, Repro.
Yes.
Ah, okay. That's supposed to be pretty good.
I bought into that thing and played around with it, and I was pretty impressed.
Excellent. Well, that's good news. So we've all had a little bit of something that we can talk about there. But, I mean, this is kind of interesting because this is about the only parallel I'm going to draw with what's just happened in your neck of the woods, Rich. Who the hell saw this coming? Yep, that was the big announcement is the new Korg Monologue, which isn't actually a voiceover tool, which actually, if it could have been, that would have been somehow more cool for the name. But very much similar sort of format to the Minilog, but a mono voice, and smaller and more dinky. Oh, battery powered, I didn't know that. Should always watch the videos, eh? So yeah, I won't play it all, but we speculated. I think the last live show we did, it was what is Korg coming up to. We thought maybe the ARP 2600, or I was thinking some kind of maxi log. There was all this kind of theory, and I was just totally wrong. Some of you may have already know that, but this looks like a cute little fella, and it's actually it's got some really cool features, because one thing being those 16 steps across the panel, because on the Minilog you've got 8 and you have to bank through them, so it means that you can easily or more easily edit sequences, and certainly motion sequencing is big on that, because you can record motion sequences without notes, which I think is a really cool modulation source. You've got 4 lanes of that. So what else has it got? It's got LFOs go into audio rate. There's a second mode, which is kind of cool, and they really go high up as well, which is nice. And what else was there? 4-channel set. Oh, it's a 2-pole filter, so it's a redesigned filter as well. And I'm pleased to see a monosynth with a 2-pole filter, because I think 4 poles are great, but we've had it for years. Let's have something different. And no, Ty, I know you don't like mini keys, and somehow these look even smaller than Monologue keys, but I believe they're the same. It's just a smaller keyboard, right?
Yeah. I've been quite harsh on this one.
Have you?
Yeah, and unfairly so, to be fair, because I approached it from, I realised that when the day they got announced, my basic opinion was, well, that was a waste of time. And that's really harsh, because I suddenly realised that Korg actually did absolutely nothing wrong other than just give us a date and a few colours on the line. They did nothing else. There was no hype. There was no.
Yeah.
They just basically gave us a date, and all of the expectation was all self-inflicted. We did all this. We started it all by saying, "Oh, it's going to be this. It's going to be this. It's going to be this. It's going to be this." Again, I was excited, and before you know it, they were going to be bringing out a P3300 for £200 in our heads. And the reality was completely different, and I was really unfair on it, because I just went, what a load of tosh. The reality was, we made all this, Korg did nothing wrong. And then when I took myself out of that grumpy old bloke syndrome, I sat down and looked at what it was, and if I was starting out, if I didn't have a lot of money, and if I wanted a mono synth, and I didn't have fingers like sausages, it's great. It's
$300. Pretty hard to argue with that, isn't it?
And do you know what really brought it home for me? I say here, you all know what I think of mini keys. I loathe them. But then think back, do you know what? In 1984 or whatever it was, I went and bought an MC202, which didn't even have keys. It had little buttons. And no one could have told me that wasn't amazing and fantastic and brilliant, and that was the best thing since sliced bread. So taking off my Do I want one? No. Do I have any interest in it? No. If I was starting out and wanted a little mono synth, I think it's great value for money.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think, Rich, you probably concur there, don't you? And it
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a Sweetwater video, like quite a long one. I think, is it Daniel Fisher who did it? I forget the name of the chap. I think it was. And when he goes through it, and there's some really interesting,
excellent video.
Yeah, there's one particular patch which has got this kind of that brilliant high-speed modulation depth where it starts to talk and articulate, and it really is articulating, if that's kind of word. And it's just kind of no nonsense. It's a little bit dry for my liking, but some great features in there, and it's really in depth. And once again, Sweetwater get the scoop, you know.
Oh, it's like their answer to Micro Brute with a different set of features. In other words, they each have different kinds of strengths. I love my Micro Brute dearly, and I think that a lot of what it does is really cool and unique. This synth also has a lot of cool things, but it's a different set of cool things than the Micro Brute. It doesn't allow you to like overdrive individual oscillators, although it does allow you to modulate their wave shapes, which is a beautiful thing, which is something that the Micro Brute also does. They both only give you one envelope generator. I think the Arturia one is a little more full-featured. The Korg has a much more interesting sequencer section.
Yeah.
And that ability, as you point out, to record live actions on the panel to 4 separate times on top of your musical performance is a pretty cool little onboard thing. And I just think that as a self-contained little device, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Niche-y.
It's niche. I think it'll be big. I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to be in the stores before Christmas, which might be a bit of a shame, but I'm not sure about that.
No, it won't. It's going to be January the 9th they're going to start shipping, which I think that's the only thing they ballsed up on, to be fair, because I think this is the kind of thing that, what a great Christmas present if you're getting into tech, and perfect Christmas present. They would have sold bucket loads of them.
Yeah, I think for that price.
And I think that's the only place they've kind of made a bit of a mistake, really.
I would agree with that. I think the other thing that's got is programmable microtuning scales, which people have been kind of going, "Wow, it's got that! It's amazing." I mean, that's great, but I was just thinking, when in my life would I need one of those? But
exactly.
Is it a good feature? I don't know, Rich. I mean, is it something that one might require?
Well, the first product I recall including something like 25 different alternate scale tunings was the Kurzweil K2000. And this came on the heels of Wendy Carlos's success with using tunings specific to the keys that she was working in on her Bach work, her later Bach.
Ah, okay.
And in all the time since then, which has got to be close to 20 years, not one time have I gone there. Now, I'm sure people have, and I think it's wonderful that you can. And I don't think it really costs them much to make it available to you, so I have no gripe with it.
I don't know, man. But I take your point. I just wondered how one might use that, and like you say, it's rarely, I think. But I think you can actually. I don't know how much tuning you can do, because it's in the video. I think you can tune per note per octave, so you could got quite a lot of potential there. I don't know. Is there anything?
Go and listen to something like More Fun to Compute, Kraftwerk, Computer World, 1981. The middle section of that, there's loads of... I mean, it's not done in a microtuning kind of way, but the effect is microtuning, basically, because they did it on random... what's the word I'm looking for? Sample and holding pitch. And a lot of that is basically microtuned. And you can do the same... You would be able to do the same kind of effect with a microtuned keyboard. And also the fact that, I have to kind of venture into the world of microtuning, but only normally with ethnic instruments and, to try and get those authentic. But the idea of having them in the synth, exactly as Rich said, really, it will cost them next to nothing to actually develop that. And sticking it on a 300 quid keyboard, it's,
I guess it might be the sort of thing that might convince, X number of people that this is the only thing that I can buy that does that. I suppose that might be.
And also, we're talking about the Western market. Do remember that if you go to any other place in the world, people are killing to get microtuning. So it doesn't work for us, maybe, but it opens up a whole new market that will, kind of be buying these. Huh. So,
Well, I would also direct your attention to a guy named Harry Parch, who was a composer who wrote for percussion instruments that were built with unusual subdivisions of the octave, and who got really, really musical and sonorous results with these custom instruments, with these customized tunings to them. So there's great possibility there. It's been done acoustically, and as Ty points out, it's easy to do. So
cool. Well, and also don't forget it goes E to E, the keyboard, which is quite unusual, and that's kind of weird because you look at it and you go, something's not right here. What's going on? I don't quite. And it's because it's an E to E keyboard rather than a C to B or a C to C keyboard, which I'm guessing.
Apparently they made it so that it's kind of easy for guitarists to get their head around or bass players to get their head around. Apparently that's what they've said. Well, and
also I guess you've got the low. If you've got the low E, because sometimes with a shorter keyboard you have to tune it down an octave and then you miss maybe some of the higher notes of a bass line or whatever. So I guess it gives you a little bit more playability. But yeah, I mean
it's another difference between that and the Micro Brute, which is from C to shining C.
Yeah. The 7 Cs and all of that. But anyway, and there's also the ODYSSEi app, which is, again, it looks like a really well-programmed kind of a virtual analog thing in iOS, although it doesn't run on all but the sort of highest specified iOS devices at the moment. And but from what I gather, it's a pretty good emulation, which obviously is following in the footsteps perhaps of the Moog System 15, or is it Model 15? I forgot what it's called now, System or Model, one of the two. And obviously is utilising similar technology, which is offloading the graphic stuff, so you get more cycles for the synth engine. And it's polyphonic, I believe. I couldn't find out how many notes it was, but I think it's got. Let me see. I thought I had an app page on it, but I don't. Oh well, never mind. I don't have the page.
It sounds good. It does. It sounds good. I don't think it sounds remarkable, but it sounds good. Yeah, and it's a nice interface to work on.
Right. So, okay. Well, there's something. That's it's currently $20, isn't it? I think it's going to be going to 33 at the end of the month, I believe.
Yeah. So.
Also, Rich, don't forget, I switched because I thought Rich is about to say something.
Which one are we talking about now? That's currently $20. That's going to be
the Korg ODYSSEi. ODYSSEi. Yeah. Which is kind of a regular guest on the show might not be quite so pleased with that, but then I guess it's not a VST and it's a different thing. So because obviously
it doesn't sound as good either. I have to say it doesn't.
Oh really?
Okay.
No, not as not as good as Dave's thing. No.
Okay. Well, I feel like that. I think what was the other thing they did? They did a black King Korg.
Yeah,
I always find the King Korg funny because I just imagine an apostrophe just before the King, because it's which will only be amusing to those people who know a certain northern dialect, perhaps. King Korg, as you might say. Anyway, right. It feels like I think I might have actually managed to get the ad in place, so maybe this is a good time to have a word from our sponsors. Let's see if it works. I sincerely hope so, because obviously that's not it. That's the wrong button. It's this button instead. That's not it. God damn. Right, okay. I'll come back to that in a sec. I still need a bit more time. Let me just see. I thought I'd save that. That's rather irritating. Isotope. Let me see. Isotope have been... Oh, that's right.
Give us something else to moan about while you get that ready.
Okay. I'm going to save that. Maybe I didn't save it properly. Come on, then. Is that it? Yeah, here we go. Isotope Neutron. This is Achieve, it says here, Achieve, I haven't actually tried it, but I've spoken to people who said they really are blown away by it. This is Achieve unprecedented focus and clarity in your mixes with Neutron. It's a new mixing plugin that combines the latest innovations in analysis and metering with award-winning audio processing. And it's got the track assistant and masking meter, which allow you to kind of figure out what it is that might be clashing frequency-wise in your mix and sort of open up the space. And by all accounts, it's actually very effective at that. It helps you quickly reach optimal starting point and identify perceptual frequency collisions and fully wield creative control over all your mix decisions. And normally I'd say that's just marketing hyperbole, but I know Charles Chicky Reeves says he's absolutely blown away by it, and I've heard some good reports from other people. We will hopefully take a look at it at some point. As usual, you can download this from isotope.com. I guess isotope.com/neutron, and it's available now. In fact, there's a whole bunch of holiday deals available on Isotope, so it's well worth getting over there if you're looking to buy some Isotope stuff. And that's Isotope Neutron, a new mixing plugin. So we will be giving away a copy of that, actually, because that's now the prize for Isotope. But last week, or not last week, last show, because we didn't have a live show last time, was Vocal Synth, which was the last one, and we have a winner for that, and it's a chap called, now this is C4_boom. There we go. Thanks for the drum roll there. C4_boom, who tweeted tweeted Isotope Inc. and Auto Harmony and Vocal Synth. He is, or she, or they are now the winner of Isotope's Vocal Synth. So go get in touch with us, and we'll get a winner. We'll get the Isotope Fairy to deposit your prize. Sorry, I'm getting my words all mixed up. Right, and we've also got a prize this week, which is the aforementioned Isotope Neutron. You can win a full copy of that, and you need to tweet the hashtag #MixWithConfidence, that's one word, and the hashtag Neutron to @sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's the hashtag #MixWithConfidence as one word, and the hashtag Neutron to @sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And then you'll be entered into the competition, and we'll pick a winner next week, and all will be well with the world. So let me see what else. Oh, did you see? I've become a synth meme. Look,
oh, that was fantastic.
There's this one, which is a cartoon that was done by a member of the group Synth Memes, which is a closed group, which just seems to be comprised entirely of pictures of me. Well, not just me, but there are a lot of pictures of me and my poncho. There's another one, penchant for PWM. I particularly like the Toblerone, which actually looks a little bit like pulse width modulation, because they were talking that the chocolatey gap has got bigger, so there's less chocolate involved. But there is a lot. There's another one. So it's just like people making memes of stuff. And there's another one. I seem to be all over the place. So if you're interested, it's quite fun and totally harmless, and it's quite flattering in many ways. You could ask to join the group Synth Memes. I thought I'd bring that up just because I could. But the one that I thought was very particularly amusing was this cartoon here, which was the "Mummy, look, synthesizers. Don't look at them, Ricky. I don't want you to be influenced by, oh God, no, Ricky." Pulse width modulation. Ricky returns with my head and a Sonic State t-shirt.
Can I just point out that I put that on my Facebook page until I just had people actually just calling me going, "What on earth is this?" All the non-musicians. What on earth is this?
That's so funny.
It's so niche. It's so niche that it's
you with the pulse width mod. Then Gaz runs in with an iPad, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do like pulse width modulation, but it's not like
I know you do.
Thing in my
Everybody
life.
knows you do.
It's not the only thing in my life. There are.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah, I know it is funny. I agree. It's mean.
It's the same as when the bald guy puts something on his head, whether it's a lampshade or whatever. It's always funny.
Yeah,
and
no,
we
that's
all
true.
know that. And you work it whenever you get a chance.
Of course, yeah. Of course, I have to. I have to.
Wig, everybody loves you.
Don't tell us what you were doing yesterday for your birthday. We don't want to know. Okay.
Anyway, let's move on to another topic. I believe there are others. Oh gosh, yes. What about this then? This could be the future of music. This is Roli Blocks. This is the light block, which actually does look quite cool. It has the sort of 5D touch thing that the Roli Seaboard does, but only different. Hooks up with the Noise app. That's what I'm not clear about, whether it can interface with anything else yet. And there are other modules, and it's sort of modular modules that you can put together and create these kind of seems like it's eminently usable in dark spaces with blue light, because that's what the launch event was like. incredibly tight performances. I'm not sure that Bluetooth has the ability to be that tight, but anyway, this is the big news. I mean, I guess, Roli, as we know, they're very much about the kind of corporate image, and they've had a lot of venture capital, and they've done some great stuff with the Seaboard, but it's still, what we'd consider a niche product. I mean, the thing about Roli Blocks is they've managed to get themselves into the Apple Store, which is big news for a kind of niche technology company like that. And so they're going to be carried, I guess, I think it's worldwide. The Roli LightPad block, which is the one with which has the pressure and all the lights underneath it, is I think $179, and the other two are $79 a pop. So you can build like loads of them into this massive controller, but obviously it'll start to get expensive. And I wasn't quite sure how this would fit. What if I haven't got an iOS device? It kind of cuts out all of that. That's the only thing, and it doesn't have any MIDI. If it had ways of getting other things into other programs and what have you, then I think this could be really big news. And I guess it's an early days kind of scenario, but I don't know. It did seem like a very big sort of marketing thing that was designed to kind of support the whole, we're in the Apple stores and they're going to sell a shitload of them, before Christmas, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, it so happens that I have been invited to go actually play with this thing this week, coming up next week, actually, in about 1 week from yesterday. And I'm going to go see it because I find it really, really interesting. And to say it's a niche product is absolutely correct, but I think it's sort of it's an attempt to launch a groundbreaking music hardware style and device. It's almost like bringing Ableton Push to the masses in something that fits in the palm of your hand. I don't know to what degree it delivers on the promise of creative inspiration and fun and ease of use, and I don't know how all that balances out yet, and that's why I wanted to go see it, because you can't evaluate it according to any other paradigm that I can think of. It's not an ocarina, and it's not that Yamaha thing that everybody used to love. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, Tenorion. Yeah, right. And it's not, a QY10, and it's really not like anything else that I can think of. And they've done some pretty fancy programming tricks. I watched a video that I believe you provided at a trade show where a guy went through a whole bunch of the software options, because it's really controllable mostly from some form of software platform. I couldn't tell if it was an iPad or if it was a laptop.
That was an iPad Pro, and it was running the Noise app, which is a part of the whole setup.
Right, and it allows you to do a lot of different things with that hardware. So the extent to which it behaves without that software is one question. And like I say, how inspiring it proves to be will be interesting to me. It's tough to launch a new instrument, obviously, because you don't have a technique to market into. You can't say, well, this is for guitarists because they already do this. You can't say it's for horn players. They're not blowing into it. So it's not really for keyboardists either. So it'd be interesting to see how much fun it is to use.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I know, and I think that's a very valid point about the fact that it's a new thing. I suppose really it follows on, with the Seaboard, they had the same issue, which was kind of getting a new concept into but at least it has some relationship to that because obviously it's got the pressure, velocity, off velocity. It's got those 5D of touch, which is their thing as well. I don't know what you think about it, Ty. I mean, I think it's, it's like one of those things that you need to know what the potential uses are for it, rather than just hey, you can make music on a bus if you're a kid.
Okay, this is just my view. Can we just that's kind of written, there's more to the bottom. What a complete waste of space. What a complete load of beep. I love Roli. You know that I've got I bought a Seaboard Grand. I've got a Seaboard Rise. I love the idea of all of that, but this is just hipster crap. This is the main. Do you know the main problem I have with this is not the fact that this is this we've got to learn another interface and do all this kind of thing, and it doesn't actually sound that good as sounds. They haven't utilized the engine as well as they could do, and I'm sure they will develop that and change it and blah blah blah. But think about this: what can I do on these little blocks that go together that I can't do on the iPad, apart from the fact that the surface feels a bit nicer. Now, I know that they're talking about the 5 levels of axis or whatever, but, with fancy iPad programming, you can do a fair amount of these.
Well, that's true with the velocity touch, the pressure, yeah.
So they're thinking, okay, so this is something which can't do that much more than an iPad. And then they make a product that the only way you can use it is with the very thing that you're comparing it to, going, well, why have I got these blocks? Because I can only control this via my iPad. Actually, do you know what? Get rid of the blocks. Just use the iPad. Develop it as an iPad app on its own. Forget all the crappy block rubbish that cost, if I'm totally honest, far too much money. And, I don't get, I don't get, I love my gear. I love my toys. I adore my toys. This is crap.
Right.
Just develop the app, make it so that you can use, kind of do it all with the app. And if you only have 4 levels of control, because it's an app rather than these blocks, it's...
Life will go on. Okay, here's the thing for you. Now, because this is something that I've suggested and I've talked about before with the notion of the Seaboard, because I think the whole sort of tactile control surface with all of those dimensions of touch is a really cool idea. But I think having a whole keyboard of it is not necessarily what you need, because playing with slide and glide with 5 fingers, it really is quite difficult. It's quite painful. It requires lots of different... But using perhaps one of these blocks as the control aspect for a regular keyboard, so you use it to enhance the MIDI and you give it all of that extra controllability. $179 for that key, effectively, for that is starting that. I think, well, if that was the case, then I could see how that would make sense, because I can reconfigure it per track. It could sort of, do what it needs to do. I change programs on whatever it is I'm doing, and the lights change, and I know that this bit is for my sustain, or this bit is for my, slidey bit, or whatever it may be, and I can use one hand to adapt my regular playing in the regular keyboard. But I'm not quite sure how that would interface, because it's a Bluetooth MIDI device. I'm not sure how that would interface with the outside world, and presumably, there must be some USB involved, because it's got to have a battery charge and all that thing. So that's the thing that I find interesting, and that's why I'm not sort of discounting it in the same way, because I think that the Lightpad part of it, perhaps more than the live and the loop block, are the things that are going, okay, that could be quite interesting as an expressive enhancement to your regular MIDI input. That's what I was thinking.
But all it is audio at the moment. It's only audio. It's not spitting out MIDI. It's literally just taking audio. And so therefore...
Well, the app is taking audio, right? The app is spitting out audio.
If take the blocks out of the equation. This is my argument. Take the blocks out of the equation, and what can you do with the blocks that you can't do if the app was developed,
Yeah.
What is there? What is it adding to me for my $179 and my $79? And if you're going to actually make it so it's actually worth something in terms of putting a lot of blocks together, that's going to get ridiculously expensive. And then you're into the territories. By the time you've got a good controller with lots of control, you're into the world of pushes and machines and which poos all over this.
But I guess the point is the entry point to utilizing this music technology is via a handheld device that lots of people have. A lot more people have something like that they could interface with than a studio or a laptop capable of running a DAW or whatever. So I think that's the thing, and that's the sort of the message. It's just when it's dressed in the kind of superlatives of marketing language, one feels a little bit kind of cynical about it. And I must admit, it was that's the thing that, perhaps I could understand. Yeah. Sorry, Rich, you look like you had a point to add there.
No, I think that every single thing Ty said makes perfect sense to me. And until I've held the thing in my hand and felt what it feels like to use it, I can't dispute any of it. But if it feels great to me and inspires me to make music,
that's
it'll
true.
Change my view of it. But no, all of those are great points, and why you can't do it in a handheld or an iPad device that you've already owned, and why you need to spend. Is it $179 for one set of those things?
No. That's just for the Lightpad part.
just for one of the big bits. Forget the other bits, just one of the light box.
The light pad.
Without those, like, 8 or 10 buttons that go.
Yeah, no, those are separate modules. They're the 70%.
Yes, each of those is a lot.
That's about twice as much as I would hope that it would cost, but I understand. I do still need to play it and feel it. Look, I'm not selling my gear.
I'll tell you what, Rich. While
makes a lot of points.
But while you're there, if you get the opportunity to try the Seaboard, try that as well. If you haven't had a chance to do that, because that is something that is really interesting as well.
I did once, and it was really odd to me, but I do need to spend time.
Yeah,
with it
does take a little bit more.
I think I could get it. I'm a piano player since the age of 3, so it takes a little getting used to the whole memory foam thing.
But honestly, with all of the Seaboard stuff, honestly, because I'm the same as you, I'm a player. You approach it as a different instrument. You approach it like you're learning a new instrument, but literally your fingers will fall. It's all to do with if you were trained so that you're quite accurate with your fingers, you will take to it like a duck to water. And don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-Roli because I love the gear that they do and I use it a lot, and it makes sense to me. And what you were saying, Nick, about having just one controller like that, honestly, would be, in terms of playing it and getting the full expression out of it, the fact that each individual note has such control is what makes it special. That is what makes it special. If you only want to do, as you're saying, kind of using it as a controller, for individual bit with one note or two notes or something, you can do all of that, most of that on an iPad. Or, to be fair, the touche thing, which is going to be coming along.
Yeah, sometimes.
And that is more what you're talking about.
No, that's true.
Fantastic. That the touche thing, I think, will be fantastic. But this, I feel like I know I'm being harsh on this, but I think from my point of view, it's just that Roli got so much completely right, and I love their gear. To then bring this out for me is just. No, it's just not for me, so I'll stay out of it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair enough. But anyway, it's I think they're available. They're obviously going to be in the stores pretty soon. You'll be able to check that, and they'll go really nicely in the Apple Store. Lots of blinky lights and what have you, and it will, no doubt, intrigue lots of people who go into the store. And I hope they sell a lot of stuff, and it'd be good because then they can continue to innovate and do the things that they're doing, because they are a very interesting company. They've acquired a lot of technology that should enable a lot more interesting products to come, and maybe this will enable that. So, great.
Agreed.
So, okay, let's move swiftly on. Let me see. Actually, no, this was something I was interested in as well. This is, again, an alternative to our usual modes. This came out a little while about the announcement. This is the Microsoft Surface Studio, which is beautifully shot and all of those things. Again, a massive touchscreen tablet type of computer. I think I've got the product page here as well. Oh, that's nice. I haven't seen that bit. Lots of moving parts. Does make me worry a little bit, but so yeah, this is the new. I guess it's like the vision of the kind of computer that doesn't take up much space, but gives you a lot of stuff to be able to do with it. That is a massive screen. So yeah, I won't play the whole thing, but yeah, this is the new Microsoft Surface Studio, which we've got the product page here, and I think this is coming. It's not a cheap thing, but it's kind of, I don't know, is it innovative or not? I know perhaps, Rich, you're not so terribly keen on the notion of using touchscreen exclusively because of the way that the Gorilla Arms thing that I've mentioned. Do you think this is a coffee table, or do you think it's kind of true innovative stuff? Because it does seem like it's a fairly bold piece of hardware, right?
I went Monday morning and played with this thing.
Oh, you've actually seen one? Whoa!
Yes.
Oh, do tell.
I have, and I went specifically because of it to do that. I wasn't like I happened to be there and there it was. I went for this purpose. So just to dispel your notion about my being resistant to touchscreen technologies. It's actually very nice. If the mechanism that supports this screen's motion holds up for more than 2 years. It's a nice product. It has almost more to do with iMac or Mac Mini than it has to do with a Pro level machine. It has fixed configurations. You cannot get inside that box and change anything. It has a rather fixed number of gazintas and gazoutas.
Yeah, 4 USB 3s, I believe, yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, there's one other. There's an Ethernet port.
I was a bit disappointed there was no Thunderbolt.
I don't even know if there's a card reader in the thing.
There's an SD card reader, but no Thunderbolt.
Maybe. Right. No Thunderbolt, no FireWire, that's it. What you just heard, that's it. On every single model, it's not like the expansion options grow with your 45. You spend basically another $1,500 to get an i7 processor and 32 gig of RAM, whereas you spend another $500 to get up to 16 gig of RAM.
Right.
So it's got its limitations. That said, operating the thing was a joy. Playing around with that stylus, if I were a sort of stylus-driven person, which I'm basically not, but playing around with it, I could see and feel the possibilities, and it really is remarkably responsive. And just web surfing on the thing, standing at a table and touching it, was very enjoyable and seamless and fun, actually. Really quite a bit of fun. And I give them great credit for going after the creatives market that they've pretty much just ignored for 25 or 30 years and put out a product that actually, for people who do live a stylus-driven lifestyle, might be incredibly useful and responsive to their needs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point. And it's inevitably going to sort of draw conclusions with what Apple are doing as well, because we've got the new Mac with the what's it called? The Touch Bar, is it? I think is that what it is? Mm-hmm. The Touch Bar, which is kind of quite an interesting idea, but there has been quite a lot of criticism in terms of what's been happening in terms of computing power, and the pro side of things is being somewhat left behind because of the it feels like there's further places that things could go that creative professionals might need. I know, Ty, I could see this going nicely in your space. Can you imagine arranging a late night session and you're swishing around the patterns and kind of throwing things in and finishing the session, or not?
Do you know? I don't. Do you know? It feels like I'm having a rant this episode, today. I'm not at all. I think. Okay, let's do. Which one do you want to deal with first? Should we start with the Surface? Should we start with
let's start with that one.
Start that one. Okay. First of all, I'm a Mac man through and through. Now, I haven't really touched PCs now for I don't know how many years. Used to be a big PC user. Now Mac. Never looked at going back to PCs, but Mac are so screwing up what they're doing long term that I'm not completely against thinking about looking at PCs again. This particular model, I think it's great that Rich went and had to play with it. I think design-wise, I have to say, I think it's beautiful. I think the idea of having a 28-inch touchscreen like that is fantastic. Everything's great about it, apart from the fact that having 4 USB ports and that's it, and only being able to go up to 32 gig of RAM, and the processing power isn't that great, is a limitation, only because the kind of people that they're wanting to draw in for this, for the kind of money that they're charging for this.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's not enough. I mean, I know there are going to be plenty of people out there going, 32 gig of RAM, why do you need more? We do. If you're doing high-end stuff, whether it be musical or streaming samples or, loading all this in, or audio-visual stuff, or, video stuff or graphics, we need all of that stuff. And only if you don't have it and there's no option of adding it, that's a real limitation for the kind of money they're charging. And
have you priced a high-end iMac lately, though? And with totally tricked out with i7 and everything?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It gets it gets up to the middle of the price range of this product without the touchscreen.
Right, but it does have Thunderbolt, so.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of things that this thing doesn't have.
Yeah,
it doesn't have touch.
No, it absolutely doesn't. And I think the touchscreen on it looks like I would love it. I mean, that's why I've got a Raven for exactly that kind of thing. I know Raven is a bit different, but I would love it if kind of Nuendo could get it integrated with the touchscreen, and it would make it. I love the idea of it. It's not powerful enough for what some people may use it for. It doesn't have enough options in terms of ins and outs and whatever, which is me included. But I think the concept of it and I think the design of it looks beautiful. And I can't remember the last time I said that about a PC.
Yeah.
So now we come back to the Mac situation, and bearing in mind that I've been hanging on now for 18 months with me wanting to get a new MacBook Pro. And so 18 months I've been waiting, and I cannot tell you. I mean, disappointment doesn't even cover it, because everything about it, apart from the fact that it's thinner, lovely. The touch bar, okay, a bit gimmicky, but could be really useful. We don't know until it gets interactive. The programs develop it. But in terms of the processing, hardly any faster. No more memory, no more hard drive memory. Everything about it is just sitting
a lot
where
more video RAM though, so it'll drive much bigger screens externally. That's a big plus.
Absolutely, that's the one thing they've moved on. But in so many other areas, it just hasn't moved on at all. And you're thinking I've been waiting for 18 months because they've kept, they hadn't updated and blah 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 blah. It's been this kind of spec for years now, and you're thinking if you're going to come back with a pro product and drop all of the outputs, the kind of the interface and all of the USB, old USB,
optical outputs gone.
All of that. The moment you drop all of that, yeah, absolutely. The moment you do all of that, you have to come back with a pro product that you have to buy because it's so much faster, it's so much better, it's so much whatever than the old version, and this is not in any way. And so I was literally there on the day waiting to see all the spec, literally just ready to click buy, because I wanted to order the top spec machine with everything, all bells or whistles, and suddenly realised that the top all bells or whistles machine was hardly going to be any different, realistically, from the machine that I wanted to replace that was 3.5 years old or something. And you suddenly go, hang on a minute, do I really want to be spending, which isn't far off £4,000 on a machine which is not really any better than what I'm replacing?
Well, I think to be fair, the disk I/O is faster as well, which may well will have a difference for certainly streaming samples and stuff. But I totally take your point, and we've been here before, haven't we? There was the point when the new waste bin Macs came, and that was like 4 years since they'd upgraded. Yeah. And we're getting to the same sort of period of that as well. And I think you're right. We sort of need something that is pro and is not necessarily led by design. It's led by the necessity of, and we've talked about this for years, haven't we? The concept that basically, as computer companies turn into more of a kind of lifestyle design type of thing, the real sort of nitty-gritty core professional usage is going to be held by the wayside because it's not the most important thing in the kind of brief for making it. And I feel that sort of is what's happened.
You're exactly right. But then you look on the flip side, which is they then bring out, as everyone knows, they brought out the iPhone 7 2 months ago with a connector which is now not compatible. You have to buy a dongle. So you need to make a decision one way or the other. You're either going to turn around and go, do you know what, forget the pros, or we'll make your own machines just for you, and they're a lot more expensive, but they are exactly what you want. Or they say, we'll make the cheap stuff that's everything's compatible with everything else. But no, they reinvent the most popular phone in the world, and they bring it out with a connector that now won't connect with this machine without a dongle. And it's all right saying we've now reduced the price of the dongles only to the end of the year. To the end of the year, they're reducing the price of these dongles from $25 or whatever by $10 off or $15 off or something. Just to keep people at the bottom.
It's not the key factor in the purchase decision for an iMac, is it?
Absolutely. And I'm figuring out, to get what I've got going at the moment on my systems, I'm just going to have to carry around a bag full of dongles with me wherever I go. So I don't give a flying whatever how thin the machine is, because however thin the machine is now, I'm having to take that space up with dongles.
Yeah, it does seem kind of crazy. I don't know, Rich. I mean, I'm guessing your work system has to take, or you maybe got an expansion chassis, or you got PCIX cards or whatever for a Pro Tools DSP farm or whatever. I don't know what your setup is, but I mean, presumably, when that life cycle comes to an end, what is there that you could buy that would actually kind of get you where you need to go, that would increase the performance or whatever it is you need out of a new machine?
Well, I'm not sure about the answer to that question. I'm still using a mid-2011 MacBook Air, which is possibly the greatest computer I've ever owned. And this product release in particular really muddies the waters about their product offerings in a lot of the ways that Ty has already called attention to with respect to the dropping of features. I think the whole idea of making this thing so thin and light that you've turned it into a MacBook Air makes me wonder if they decided they had a marketing problem with MacBook Air ultimately, and that they had a much easier time selling a product that says Pro on the end of it. And so they've decided that they're going to let the MacBook Air sort of die on the vine until they've sold them out. And they're going to more or less replace the MacBook Air with the MacBook Pro line, which sort of leaves the Pro user actually hanging, because at the service of making them so thin and light, they've dropped every single connector, which means they've dropped the headphone jack, which had the optical port, they've dropped the USB ports, they've dropped the Thunderbolt. They're just giving you this one style of USB-C/Thunderbolt 2 or 3 connector that you can use times 4 to try to make your life well. But it really relates much more to the legacy of the MacBook Air product, which started out, if you recall, without so much as a second USB port, and ultimately turned into a pretty fully functioning machine. I have an i7 here for the last 5.5 years that I haven't been able to bring to its knees. I don't happen to need other kinds of I/O, and I didn't miss the FireWire port, and I love this thing because it's light and it's fast, and it's wicked fast. To this day, it's just unbelievably fast. Now, and it costs quite a bit less than a MacBook Pro. So it seems to me that they're at a point right now of transition in their product line, and they've really muddied the waters with this product because it doesn't seem to support the Pro user base that they had been catering MacBook Pro to, and it almost looks like it's ready to assume the product line position of the MacBook Air, which they're willing to make go away because now they've got their new MacBook product, which I'm quite sure we're going to see a version 2 of sometime soon. And,
what will it be? Will it be the Pro? I mean, just that.
No, I mean the bottom end. In other words,
okay.
Now that servicing the top, what they believe to be their top end with this thing and their touch bar, which I can also get into, they're going to, I think, let MacBook Air die in the middle of their and take the bottom of their product, which is their new MacBook. They already have. And they're going to develop the MacBook product into a version 2 and maybe 1 or 2 other versions of it, maybe with a few options, because right now they only offer literally one model with 2 options. So it seems like we're in a transition point. As regards this touch bar, some part of me is really intrigued by the idea of replacing an F key row with soft keys that would allow you to either do F key row or do any number of other things. And some form of principle, that all makes sense to me. But some of the things they're purporting to want to do with it are things like scrubbing for video editors and stuff like that. And if you think about the ergonomics of where it is, the fact that you can't rest your palm anywhere to do that while you're running it from up there, it sort of doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. So I, again, would have to put my hands on it and feel what it feels like to use it to see if it's likely to become usable to me. But it's interesting to see them stake out that sort of middle ground position between not wanting to commit to touchscreen monitors on their computers, which is something they seem very locked in about, and then trying to apply some of iPad technology to their laptop line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just feels like, if I was in a position, I need a new video editing machine. My MacBook Pro is, I think it's a 2011, 2012. It's been fine. It might die one day, but it's got Thunderbolt, it's got FireWire, it's got USB. It's got those things. And it's only got 16 gigs of RAM. But if I need to go somewhere after this, I don't know what I would do. I'm going to have to buy a PC and spec it up. I mean, that seems to be, kind of pretty much my only choice, which is sad. But
well, the two things are just my final two things on this is, first of all, so I've spoken with professional editors that, you know, this is what they do day in, day out, and literally the touch bar for what they're selling it for scrubbing and other, it's laughable. I mean, these are professional editors laughing at it. I mean, which isn't a good start to a pro machine. And the other thing is that, bearing in mind, you know, I hold my hands up. I'm very much a Mac boy. I know that's kind of meant to be a derogatory term, but I am a Mac boy. My entire house, my entire studio, everything in my life is Mac-based or, you know, Apple-based. And for me to look at this and just go, whoa, hang on a minute. They don't have a clue really what they're doing at the moment. Are they getting rid of headphone jacks, or are they not getting rid of headphone jacks? Are they now switching to USB-C, or, you know, kind of what are they doing? Apple at the moment are really struggling to find out what they're actually doing and what their customer base is, apart from, you know, kind of the bottom rung of the ladder. They're really struggling. And I had this conversation with somebody about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, who said, this is going to happen to Apple. And I cannot explain how much I was like, you're joking. Never going to happen. I was completely wrong. They're struggling at the moment. They really don't. They don't know what they're doing. Well, not for
cash, just maybe for direction and ideas. But yes, I do hesitate. I mean, I know lots of people are kind of going, why are you just talking about... But, I mean, for many people, computing is, you know, this is what we use to make our livings. It's what we use for creativity, or part of it. You know, yes, there is hardware, but a lot of it's going to be interfacing to a DAW or video editing or whatever it is. You know, they're a big part of our lives. And it just feels like, you know, if we need professional tools to do this, then we want to be able to buy them. And, you know, if we want to buy them, then they should be supplied. And it just feels like we're not really getting what we need. So maybe that might be the last word. Although, Rich, you sounded like you might have a thing to add there.
I think that they've become distracted by activism, by politics. Apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tim Cook is taken such a bizarre sort of defiant position in public, and also he delivers a pretty mediocre public, you know, display of their products. But besides that, I think when you choose to lay your hardware business at the feet of some form of political activism, you're in trouble.
Right. Well, maybe you're right.
Microsoft, even though they own MSNBC, which is obviously a very politically directed concern, but Microsoft, for the most part, have resisted doing that in the way that they profile their computer products.
Well, maybe you're right. I mean, I'm not too aware of how that worked or how that's been working, but I'll take your word on that. So, yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, but maybe that's what happens when you have more money than God. You know, maybe that's you start to get philanthropic, and then, you know, the motivations.
It's not easy to sustain a business or a career or an artistic career throughout a long period of time. And if you look at the greatest artists in history and their output, there was typically one, or maybe more than one if you're lucky, spurt of period where an enormous creative output burst occurred, and you could, you know, start with Beethoven, you can go to Stevie Wonder or the Beatles. And then around that is, you know, the parts where you're feeling out what the next one of those might be.
Yeah.
And
that's where we are, perhaps. Yeah.
It's not easy to keep being the leader at something that's competitive like this. And it's all good because the competition does tend to spur, you know, the success of Apple obviously led on some level to that new Microsoft's computer product.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. I suppose that's well said, and it does make sense. I mean, you know, that's the point of this whole thing. It just feels like when there's only when there's a clear market leader, and it has been for such a long time, and they're not giving you what you need, it's sort of like, oh, it's disappointing. Anyway, I think we should probably stop it there, but it's been a fascinating talk as ever. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. Oh, by the way, I've got a gig. Where is it? I think I got a page for this somewhere. Oh, maybe I haven't. I thought I did have. I'm playing on the 3rd of December at the Barn in Winchester. You can find some stuff online. I put a line in the show. In fact, I've just written a new tune so that my set will be slightly longer than 20 minutes. But there are other acts on, so if you're travelling any sort of distance, there will be other stuff to see. Just perhaps not a 2-hour set from me or anything like. But that's what's called a really bad sell, I think. But it's only a few weeks away. So That's it for this week. I want to say thank you very much to Rich Hilton for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you aboard, and happy birthday once again, and all of the things that go along with that. So thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
And also, Mr. Ty Unwin, thank you, and do give some of my regards to your family for making them turn off all of their other networking options so that we can have you in full glorious video.
Thank you, and can I just apologize? It does actually think, I'm sorry if I just ranted today, but I think it's just a ranting day, so I do apologise.
That's quite all right. So once again, we should just quickly say thank you very much to Isotope for sponsoring the show. Don't forget, if you want to have a chance to win Isotope Neutron, you need to tweet the hashtag #MixWithConfidence, that's one word, and the hashtag Neutron to @sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. Via Twitter. That's #MixWithConfidence and Neutron to @sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's it for this week. That was Sonic Talk number 471. We'll be back next week with more. Thank you much for watching.